What is more important, how your website looks or how it performs? Hi, my name is Catherine Erdley. I am your host today and also the founder of the Resilient Retail Club, which is my membership group and mastermind for product businesses. Today, I am talking to Tamsin Rennie, who is a brand and web designer, all about the importance of having a website that doesn't just look great, but one that actually performs as well. Tune into this episode to find out what the common mistakes are that Tamsin sees small businesses making when it comes to websites that they have DIY'd, and which you need to focus on first if you're considering either having your branding or your website redone.
Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan, a podcast for anyone wanting to start, grow, or scale a profitable creative product business with me, Catherine Erdley. The Resilient Retail Game Plan is a podcast dedicated to one thing: breaking down the concepts and tools that I've gathered from 20 years in the retail industry and showing you how you can use them in your business. This is the real nuts and bolts of running a successful product business, broken down in an easy, accessible way. This is not a podcast about learning how to make your business look good. It's the tools and techniques that will make you and your business feel good. Confidently plan, launch, and manage your products, and feel in control of your sales numbers and cash flow to help you build a resilient retail business.
Hi, Tamsin. Welcome to the Resilient Retail.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Do you want to start off by introducing yourself and your business?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Tamsin and I run Monroe Creative, which is a branding and website design studio. So I work with female founders and create branding and or websites to help them achieve their goals in a way that feels intuitive and easy.
Fantastic. And you yourself had a product business for some time. Is that
Yeah, I
correct? Before
did.
you started this?
Yeah, so my background is product business. I've had two product businesses of my own, which spanned about 12, 13 years. My first business was called Studio Seed, and I started with greeting cards and stationery. So I sold those not only direct to customer, but I did a lot of wholesale and distribution with that company. And then that brand evolved into more gifting, and I did a lot of curated gifting for luxury gifts for women. And that sort of coincided with when that was launching and taking off, then COVID happened. But I was one of the sort of, if you can say, lucky ones that COVID was impacted my business really positively because
Yeah.
the shops were closed. No one could go out to buy gifts, but people still had birthdays and there was still events and things going on, and people wanted to show their love through gifts basically when they couldn't be together. That business was this just went insane, to be honest. And then I had hardly any staff because everyone was like
Everyone else
homeschooling their
is locked down.
children. Yeah, it was really tricky, but it was really, it felt really good to be a part of keeping people connected. We used to handwrite gift notes and things. And then honestly, I was in tears most days with the messages and things like people just wanting to stay in touch and saying that they missed people. And it was really heartwarming, actually. So after COVID, the biggest restrictions died down, then things calmed down. And I think it just, I think I'd already been considering a change before COVID. And I
Mhm.
think it just confirmed to me. I just thought, okay, I feel like I've done everything I want to do with this business.
Yeah.
And because it had grown quite big and I had quite a lot of staff and we had a big studio and I was spending a lot of my time managing and rather than
Mm.
actually the doing, which is what I really enjoy, I decided to close that business, which was really positive, but really sad in equal measures because it was like my little baby, but also it felt really positive to end on a high and to
Yeah.
go, okay, I've done that and I want to do something else now. I was supposed to take lots of time off and I think I had about a week off. Straight back into it. And I went back to what I was actually trained in, which was my degree was in embroidery, which is very niche. But at the end of my degree course, I'd done like a children's wear collection, and I'd always wanted to revisit that in some way. So then I set up my second company, which was Magic and Monroe, and
Mhm.
I specialized in really lovely dress up accessories, capes, crowns, wands, things for make believe play. And it was such a joy to be back in a business where I was doing it all, because I
Mm.
love making and I love doing all the aspects of the business, and I love packing orders and I love it all. I really enjoyed that. And then that sort of niched into, now it's evolved into just heirloom dolls. So that was a huge learning curve actually, because I had to learn all about like toy standards and testing,
Oh, right.
all the UKCA stuff, which is at first I thought, when I started looking into it, I almost thought, this is too much. I can't do this. But I powered through because I will not be beaten. Um, and so, yeah, then I created a whole collection of dolls, like little animal dolls that are all like safe for play and everything. And that's still good. That business is still running, but the new business is where I'm focusing most of my sort of energy at the moment. I wanted a bit of a change from product. So now
Mhm.
I'm service mainly. And it's such a big adjustment because when I'm busy in a product business, it's just head down, crack on, get the orders out. Whereas when you're busy in a service based business, in a business like mine, it's a lot of face to face and
Yes.
interaction,
Yeah.
which is wonderful. And I absolutely love it. But it's an adjustment, and it is quite draining in a way.
I
So I'm
think,
finding that
yeah.
quite an
It
interesting adjustment.
over time, I think you get more accustomed to it, but I totally know what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a
So
big difference.
so you're bringing to Monroe Creative all of this knowledge and experience of running product businesses,
Mm.
and so you're combining your understanding of how important it is for a business to look good, look the
Mhm.
design to be on point, to have that sort of you see a lot of people you work with are quite premium brands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you so you're bringing all of that knowledge, but then also your understanding of the functionality of the importance of functionality. So talking from that sort of starting point, thinking about a website, thinking about branding, how important is it for a website to really have the right look for the brand?
It's really important because you could have the most functional website in the world that's driving a ton of traffic to your website. But if then when people get there, they're not connecting to it, then they're
Mm.
just going to leave, and there's no point. It's all got to, when I design, and any good design I see, it's always very strategic. So it's strategically designed to appeal to that very specific customer that
Mhm.
you're targeting, whether that's high volume, low cost kind of thing, and then the visuals reflect that, or whether it is more really high price point and less volume, and then that luxury. And that's the kind of clients that I tend to work with. And that luxury has to be really clear on the website. The aesthetics and the visuals have to, yeah, and that looks very different for for different businesses, but it is really important because people look at so many websites in a day. I do anyway. I'm constantly just browsing, and you've got to stand out. You've got to be something a bit special for to keep people there and to keep people scrolling and keep people interested in what you're offering. So yeah, it's really important.
So if I were to come in to you and I would say a jewellery brand, like a sort of demi-fine jewellery or a more premium jewellery offering, and you
Mhm.
talked about being really strategic about how to appeal to a very specific customer. Can you talk me through a little bit more about what that process might look like? This imaginary.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm actually working with two jewelry brands at the moment. Funny you should say that. So it's very much, again, starting with that customer profile and what do they want? What do they need? What do they desire? Their pain point, hate that word pain points, but it's the pain point. And to me, it's very important to have the website design, but also linking in with the messaging and the copy, and
Mm,
then the imagery that you're using. To me, it's like a holistic thing, and
mhm,
I tend to I always encourage clients to have professional photography and,
mhm,
where possible, work with a copywriter, because all of these things together with the design, it all goes hand in hand, and it just makes for a much more successful website.
mhm,
So we would talk through the customer and the customer journey and create like a user experience throughout the website that feels intuitive, and that it's about giving them the information in as few clicks as possible, that kind of thing, and not making them search around for it, giving them really clear options about where to go, and at the same time as making it look on brand and interesting and beautiful and like they want a piece of it. It's very
mhm.
much like it's your shop front. You're welcoming people into your shop, and you are being that lovely sales assistant that's saying, "I'm here if you want any help." You're not in their face going, "Oh, what about this and what about that?" And
Yeah.
it's almost like you're designing it to be, yeah, that lovely, nice sales assistant for your shop.
So the aesthetics are really key, but obviously then functionality is also
Very.
really crucial. So what are some of the mistakes that you make when you see, let's say, for example, somebody's been DIYing their website, which with a lot of these plug and play
Mhm.
builders now, you certainly can do that. But what are some of the
Mhm.
common mistakes that you see where people make when it comes to maybe aesthetically it works, but
Mhm.
there's issues with functionality?
Yeah, I see it a lot, and I'm a big believer in DIYing your own website to begin with. It's it's not always possible to invest in like a professional website, but the thing is with these plug and play hosts and platforms, like you said, is that it's quite easy to make it look beautiful, but the functionality isn't really considered. And if you don't know, like, how would you know to make these changes?
Mm,
So I think the main thing is strategy and just having that awareness of, what do I want the goal of this website to be, and what do I want my customer to feel, and what all that. But SEO is such a huge thing. And I'm actually working on an SEO course at the moment, because so many of my clients are just nervous about SEO because they don't
mm,
understand it. They think it's far too technical for them. And it's scary because it's very jargony, and also is honestly quite dull. It doesn't have to be really difficult. And I love to learn, and I'm self-taught in pretty much everything, because that's just the way I am. But so I've found it quite interesting to look into SEO, but having a really sort of basic understanding of SEO
mm,
is going to make such a big difference. For example, a really common thing that I see is on a website when people use like headings as to style the website and to make it look pretty.
mhm,
So, for example, on their homepage, they'll say welcome in like their main heading font.
mm.
And what you're doing there is you're telling Google that this page is about welcome. So Google has
Right.
very little information to then show it to the people who want what you're offering. Instead of welcome, let's take your jewelry brand example. Your main heading font should be using a keyword. So demi fine jewelry for, I don't know, luxury lovers or something. And SEO is such a huge subject, but there are very easy wins that you can have that will make a big impact on, because essentially SEO is getting Google to show your website to the people who want your product. So
Yeah.
getting it right is almost like a free marketing tool that's driving traffic to you. So it's something you can't really ignore. And all my clients hate me banging on about it, but I'm very like, you must do this.
So SEO, so not paying enough attention to SEO is one of the mistakes that you see people
Yeah.
make when they're prioritizing aesthetics over functionality. What are
Yeah.
some of the others?
Things that I see a lot are like really slow loading websites and huge
Mm,
images, and images not, again, this is SEO, but like images labeled as like IMG 579 10 11, rather than actually what that image is. And huge, like 2.5 megabytes or kilo, I don't know what the thing is, but huge images that
yeah.
are slowing down your website, taking age to load, and Google hates that. So it won't be showing anyone that page because it knows that viewers will just go, "I can't be bothered with this." And again, that is technically an SEO subject, but yeah, making sure that all your images are sort of high res but compressed and labeled
Yeah.
correctly. And that also ties into like accessibility, because if you haven't done, there's a place in all images where you can input the alternative text or alt text. And that is what sort of screen readers use for people with accessibility issues. Again, that's an inclusivity thing that's really important, as
Yeah.
well as being important for Google to show your website to people. Yeah. And then another thing is just that user experience. And if I go on a website and I've come from Instagram, let's say, and they've got a lovely bracelet on there that I would like to buy, but can I find it on the website? No, I don't. I can't see where bracelets are. I can't see where new collections are. I can't find what I'm
Mm.
looking for. And again, it's some websites are prioritizing looking beautiful over, you're providing a service for your customer and you've got to be making it as easy as possible. Otherwise, they're just going to go somewhere else. And it's all things that DIY, if you've DIYed your website, it's all very attainable to do yourself with a bit of research. And yeah, it's about prioritizing that as much as you're prioritizing how beautiful your website looks, because
Yeah, for
they go
sure.
hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure. So I know what you mean. And I've even found it as well where I've been shown an ad for something and then I go to the website of that company, maybe not necessarily directly from the ad, but it's like an ad that they're showing quite often. But then when I get
Mm,
to the website, I can't find, or I've had to
yeah.
like really dig around to work out which pair, if, for example, which pair of earrings that I saw in the ad. I'm thinking,
Yeah,
and you do want it seamless. You want it to be, if you're putting
absolutely.
a lot of money behind something in an ad, make it
Absolutely. You want it
easily
to be,
discoverable.
yeah, as few clicks as possible, don't you? To for them to find what they're looking for. Because
Yeah,
people are really impatient as well. And like I say, you're looking at so many websites a day, you're browsing so much a day, and people just haven't got the patience. So they'll just go onto someone else's website, which is a
yeah,
shame.
well, yeah, which is definitely not the goal. Whatever your goal is for your
No.
website, it's almost certainly not pushing you to somebody
Yeah,
else's website.
absolutely.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the relationship between branding and web design, because this is something that comes up in conversations, whether it's in my membership group or the mastermind, in my mastermind. But sometimes it's people get to the point where they're like, okay, I know I want to elevate what I'm doing, and maybe they've DIY'd it for a bit, for a couple of years, and they're at the point now where they think, okay, I'd like to move on to the next level, and I'm not DIY. But it's almost like a bit of a chicken and egg. Can you do website redesign without branding? Can you do branding and then implement some bits to yourself as web design? Is it always uh, better to try and do the two things together? And is it better to, it's interesting that you do branding and web design. What's your feeling about how that whole, the whole, if you're a small business owner trying to make that decision about branding, web
Mhm.
design, which bit you can do, which bit you can DIY?
Yeah,
What are
or
your
which to
thoughts about that?
prioritize.
Yeah.
As doing the job I do, I would say that it's really important to have both. That's the gold standard, isn't it? To have branding that's really effective and a website that's really effective. Because it's almost, if you had a really stunning, fantastic website, but then your colors and your fonts and your logo aren't like projecting what you do,
Yeah.
it's like a bit of a waste. And then the same
Yeah.
with, you can have the most beautiful branding that really connects to your customers. But then if your website's not up to scratch, then you're gonna lose some potential business. But I think in terms of branding, as long as everything is cohesive and consistent
Mm.
and not absolutely not aiming, if it's not miles off, then you can still create a fantastic website experience. Less is more in terms of fonts and colors and just keeping it very, yeah, consistent. So you don't necessarily, if I had to choose, I would choose a website and
Mm.
just be very strategic with what you're using from branding and keep that very simple. And there's still ways without having professional branding that you can create that cohesive, consistent look throughout a website. But yeah, I would always say both are important.
So do you think it's better to do it that way around, to have So let's say you had to choose between having some help with web design or with branding. So you think it's better I suppose that makes sense, to have a website that is fully functional as long as it's reasonably coherent and you've
Mm.
not gone overboard with logos and colors and fonts and things, rather than, say, having your branding done as a standalone and trying to implement it yourself onto the website.
I think it really depends on your business and the stage you're at in your business. If you're just
Mhm.
starting out, perhaps I always prioritize my website and my SEO in terms of my marketing because
Yeah,
I know that's longer term results. I'm building on my ground. I'm not having to battle algorithms and I don't want to rely on social media to bring in my work. If you were just starting out, then I would say, yes, I would say DIY your branding, but get some help with a website that's going to be a powerful marketing tool, which will
yeah,
then bring you money and then down the line invest in some branding. But then if you're very much, I don't know, social media based and all you need is perhaps you only need an email list and a sort of sales page or a sales funnel, then perhaps then you do need to focus more on your branding and attracting that customer because your digital side is quite minimal. So it totally
right.
depends on sort of the business, where you're at, how your business works, the structure, that kind of thing. Yeah. So sorry, I didn't really answer your question, but it
It
depends.
depends. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. Well, that works as an answer.
Yeah.
And of course, the best solution is to have somebody to do both and
Yeah,
and,
I would say
you know,
so. Yeah, I would say so. I think like a lot of people, I work with a lot of people who have DIY'd their website and branding and then they're ready for change. And then they really see, because they know their business, they've had a few years of knowing their business and understanding their customer and that kind of thing. They're really well placed to then work with me on branding and website because they do know their customer inside out and they know where they want to go. Whereas when
yeah,
you're first starting out, there's a big learning curve and you might invest in branding and then 6 months late, like down the road, you might have a bit of a pivot and then have to restart. So it is really hard. It's really hard to know what to invest in and where, but it's just about looking where you are, where you want to go, and being really clear on your goals. And then the answers will come to you, right? Okay, I really need a powerful website because I don't want to rely on social media. So I'm going to
yeah.
invest in a website, that kind of thing.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tamsin. It's been really interesting talking to you. Do you want to finish us off by telling everyone where they can find out more about you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So my website is www.munrocreative.co.uk. And I'm also on Instagram. I think it's Munro_creative_studio. I like to share lots of tips and things on my Instagram. And yeah, so check me out on those.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like or follow or subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening. And you'll be the first to know about each new episode, which comes out on a Thursday morning. And of course, if you have a moment to rate and review the podcast, then that makes a huge difference as well. Have a great week.